Thomas went to the hospital in May of last year. He really wanted to see his grandchildren for the very first time while he still had the chance. This is one of the first times we can hear how angry his daughter is. He used to take her to the sets of TV shows, where he worked as a man who designed the lights. It is a very sad situation for a family. Thomas wants to make things right, but it seems like there is a lot of anger and hurt feelings between them. It is hard to see a family struggle like this when everyone is watching them. Thomas was very sick and had to stay in the hospital for a while. This happened back in May. You can tell that things are not good between him and his daughter. She sounds very mad at him, and we are just now finding out why. He worked on television sets for a long time, and he used to bring her along. He wanted her to see how things worked behind the scenes. Now, they do not even talk to each other, and it makes people wonder what really happened to make them so upset with one another. She is very angry, and you can really hear it in her voice now. Her father used to take her to work with him all the time. He worked as a lighting designer on big TV shows. She grew up seeing how famous people lived and how shows were made. Even though they were close back then, they are not close anymore. It is strange to think that someone who spent so much time with their dad would be this mad at him today. People are trying to understand why their relationship broke apart so badly. What if one of the most famous women in the whole world has been living a lie? What if her life follows a different timeline than the one she told everyone? This is not just a silly rumor that someone made up yesterday. It is something that keeps popping up in old magazines and college photos. Even her first husband will not say a word about it. Her father gets very quiet and strange when people ask him about her age. Her story has always seemed very neat and perfect, but the small details do not seem to fit right. This goes much deeper than you would expect. She might be living under a timeline that is totally different from the one she gave us. This is not just a small mistake. It is something that shows up in old pictures from when she was in school. It shows up on pages of magazines from a long time ago. Her ex-husband stays silent, and her father will not give a straight answer. Everything she tells the world sounds very polished and nice, but the facts underneath are a bit messy. If you look closely, the pieces of the puzzle do not fit together the way they should. This is not a story that someone just made up overnight to be mean. It is something that keeps showing up in different places. People found an old magazine page and photos from her college days. Her ex-husband refuses to speak, which is very odd. Her father also gets very quiet when the topic comes up. The story she has told for a long time is very clean and easy to follow. But when you look at the details, they do not stay still. Something feels wrong about the dates and the years she has given to the public. Her father acts very strange when people ask him about her age. He usually talks a lot, but he gets quiet when this question is asked. The story she has told for years is very neat and consistent. It sounds like a perfect movie script, but if you look at the facts underneath, they do not sit still. It makes people think that maybe the story isn't as true as she says it is. What you are about to hear is very surprising. It is more than just gossip. It is a mystery about who she really is. The details of her life story do not quite match up. It goes much deeper than most people would think. If you like these kinds of mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Like the video so more people can see it. Some people are saying that Meghan Markle lied about how old she really is. They say she took many years off her age. We are not just talking about 1 or 2 years. We are talking about maybe 8 full years. That is a very big change. It is not just a small mistake or a slip of memory. Someone is claiming that Meghan Markle changed her age by a lot. They say she shaved off up to 8 years. In Hollywood, people sometimes change their age by a year or 2 to look younger. But 8 years is a whole different chapter of a person's life. If this is true, it means everything we think we know about her is wrong. It would rewrite her whole history. That is a lot of time to hide. It would mean she was living a completely different life than the one she told the world about. 8 years is not just a small rounding error. It is a very long time. It is like an entire part of someone's life is missing or changed. When she was at a big event called One Young World, she talked about her past. But if the rumors are true, she was much older than she said she was back then. If you change your age by 8 years, you are basically saying you are a different person. It changes when you went to school and when you started your job. It changes everything about your timeline. If she really changed her age by 8 years, it changes the whole story of her life. It means the things people thought they knew are not correct. This is not just a theory made up by people with too much free time. This is something that has been building for a long time. At first, it was just a quiet whisper. Now, it is getting much louder. What makes it stay around is the real details and the real names that keep coming up. No matter how much people try to ignore it, the story will not go away. Do not just think this is a fake story from the internet. Listen to the facts first. This did not just start with one person posting online. It has been growing for many years. It started as a small secret, and now it is a big deal. The reason people keep talking about it is because of the specific moments and the names of people involved. Even when the topic is pushed aside, it always comes back. There are real photos and real papers that make people ask questions. It is a very strange mystery that won't die. The story started quietly, but now it is very loud. It is not just a random claim. There are real details that keep being brought back into the conversation. Every time someone tries to stop the rumor, something new comes up. There are specific names and dates that do not match the official story. This is why people are so interested. If it were just a lie, it would have been forgotten by now. But because it keeps coming back, people think there might be some truth to it. It makes you wonder what is being hidden. Think about what it means to take 8 years off your age. That is not just being vain. It is not like a famous person cutting 1 year to stay popular. 8 years means you have a totally different birth year. It means you were born in a different decade. It means your whole life timeline is separate. Your school years, your first jobs, and all your big moments would be different. If Meghan built her identity on her personal stories, then the number of her age really matters. It is hard to ignore if the math is wrong. A gap of 8 years is huge. It means your entire history is different. Think about your education and your career. Every big milestone you ever talked about would be in the wrong place. Meghan has told many stories about her life to make people like her. If the number of her age is wrong, then those stories might not be true either. It is very hard to look past a mistake that big. If you change a whole decade of your life, you are changing who you are to the public. People want to know the truth. You are not able to sit down with her mom, Doria, and fix this. The mystery covers her education, her jobs, and her relationships. Every big thing she has ever said in public would be questioned. When someone makes their whole image about their personal life story, the dates have to be right. If they are not, it makes people feel like they were tricked. People care about the truth when it comes to famous people they admire. If the numbers do not add up, the whole story starts to fall apart and look fake. Meghan has built her identity around the stories she tells about herself. Because of that, her age really matters. In Hollywood, people manage their image all the time. That is not a big surprise. It is just how the business works. Women especially feel like they have to stay young to get jobs. They want to look young and sound young. The movie industry is very obsessed with age. It can be very uncomfortable when you think about it. So, it is not hard to believe someone might change their age a little bit. People in the movie business fix their image every day. It is just part of their job. Women feel a lot of pressure to look young and stay young on paper. Hollywood is very strict about age, and it can be mean to people as they get older. Because of this, many people might change their age by a year or two. That is pretty common. But changing it by 8 years is a totally different thing. That is not just feeling pressure. That is a very big choice that affects every single part of your life story. The industry has always been very obsessed with age. It makes people feel like they have to hide how old they really are. It is common to change a number by a little bit. But 8 years is a whole other level of hiding. That is not just a small tweak. That is a long-term plan that touches everything you have ever done. Imagine being so worried about what people think that you change your whole history. When these whispers started to get popular, the reaction from her team was very intense. They were not calm at all. Taking 8 years off is a huge choice. It is a plan that would have lasted a very long time. When people started talking about this, the people behind the scenes got very worried. They were not calm or relaxed. They were panicking. Phones were ringing all the time. This is the kind of energy you see when something big is happening. If it were just a small lie, they would have just laughed it off. but they acted like it was a major emergency. That makes people think the rumor might actually be a real problem. Imagine if a magazine editor wanted to make you a star, but then they became your enemy. When the rumors about her age started getting big, the reaction was very strong. People were panicking and making many phone calls. If this was just a fake story, they would have just said it was wrong and moved on. That is how you handle a small lie. But they did not do that. They acted like it was a very serious situation. This kind of fast and urgent reaction makes people wonder why they are so scared of a number. The energy from her team was very nervous. They were not acting like it was no big deal. If the rumor had no truth to it, the answer would be simple. They could just show a paper and laugh about it, but that is not what happened. People close to her said it was a total panic mode. It was very serious and very fast. Now, being scared does not mean you are guilty, but it does make people ask a hard question. Why does a simple number make them so upset? There must be a reason why they are so worried. If someone tells a lie about you, you usually just give a quick statement and move on. That is how you handle things that are not true, but the reaction here was very different. It was full-on panic. This raises a big question. Why does her age matter so much to her? Why does it cause such a big reaction? She did not respond back to the questions. There has been no conversation about it. Most of the time, celebrities move on to the next news story in a week. But this story about her age just will not go away. She did not say anything back. Usually when famous people are accused of something, they release a statement and then everyone forgets about it. The news moves on to something else. But this story is different. It keeps coming back over and over again. And every time it returns, it brings more evidence. This is not just celebrity gossip. There are real names, dates, and photos. People are looking at old magazine pages and timelines. The more you look at the whole picture, the more you see why people are still talking about it today. This story is not just noise. There are real names and dates tied to it. People are looking at every single detail piece by piece. They are finding things that do not add up. The reason this conversation will not die is because there are questions that have not been answered yet. Some things just do not make sense. Here is where it gets very interesting. In March of 1997, there was a magazine called 17. On page 19, her name was printed. Right next to her name, it said her age was 21. That is a very specific number. In March of 1997, a magazine called 17 had her name in it. Next to her name, it said she was 21 years old. Now, let's look at the math. If she was born in 1981, like she says, she would have only been 15 in 1997. That is a 6-year difference. That is not a small typo. Think about the difference between being 15 and 21. When you are 15, you are a kid in high school. When you are 21, you are an adult in college. These are two very different times in life. This is why people are so confused by that magazine page. If she was born in August of 1981, then in March of 1997, she should have been 15. But the magazine said she was 21. A 6-year gap is not something you just forget. It is not a simple mistake. Think about what 6 years looks like. At 15, you cannot even drive by yourself in many places. At 21, you are finished with school and starting your adult life. These are not the same at all. This printed page is one of the main reasons people keep asking questions. It is hard to explain how a 15-year-old is called 21 in print. At 21, you are legally an adult and starting your own life. You are a completely different person than a 15-year-old kid. Yet there it is on page 19, age 21. Her fans say it was probably just a mistake by the magazine. They say magazines make errors all the time. That is a fair point. One mistake in one magazine might not mean anything. But this is not the only thing people have found. This number keeps coming back every time the topic is discussed. People take pictures of it and share it online because the math just does not work. How does a 15-year-old girl end up being listed as 21 in a real magazine? This was not just a random post on the internet. It was a real publication with her name on it. Numbers do not have feelings or a PR team. They either add up or they don't. When you look at her official birth year and compare it to that magazine, one of them has to be wrong. This is the question that nobody can answer. It makes the whole story feel like a mystery. Someone gave that age to the magazine, but we don't know who or why they did it. Someone gave the magazine that age. Whatever the source was, it did not match the story she has been telling for many years. Some people think it was just a mistake and nobody caught it. Others think it is part of a bigger plan. They think she started changing her age a long time ago, even before she was famous. This was back when she was just a small name in a teen magazine. This is why that old magazine page is so hard to ignore. It is printed in ink, and it is right there for everyone to see and judge for themselves. Let's look further ahead to when she went to Northwestern University. This is a very good school. Meghan says she graduated in 2003. If she was born in 1981, she would have been 22 when she finished. That sounds normal and makes sense. But then people started looking at her old college photos. They did not just look at her. They looked at the people standing next to her. Many of those classmates are in their 50s now. That would mean they were born in the early 1970s, which is much earlier than 1981. If Meghan was born in 1981, but her college friends were born in 1970, that is a 10-year age gap. That is a big difference for a group of friends in college. It is possible for people of different ages to be friends in school, but it is a bit unusual for everyone in the group to be so much older. People keep pointing this out because it happens in many different photos from that time. One photo of a salsa club is the one people talk about the most. Everyone in it seems to be from the early 1970s, except for the official story of Meghan. In the salsa club photo, Meghan looks like she is the same age as everyone else. She looks very comfortable and happy with the group. If there was really a 10-year gap between them, she should look much younger than her friends. But she doesn't. She looks like she is in the same stage of life as them. This is what bothers the people who are investigating this. If the ages look the same but the papers say they are different, something is wrong. It is another piece of the puzzle that does not fit into the official story she tells. Appearances can be tricky. People age in different ways. A photo from a long time ago might not tell the whole truth. These are all fair points. We cannot know for sure just by looking at a picture. But the conversation does not stop there. It is not just one photo. It is a long thread that starts with a magazine in 1997 and goes through her whole life. For many people, this thread does not have a clean ending. They think all these small clues add up to one big secret. It is a very interesting mystery that people love to talk about. Hollywood is very hard on women as they get older. If you are a woman over 30, it is much harder to get a job. This is not a secret, it is just how the business works. This pressure is real and it has changed many careers. One person said that if you are over 30, you lose half your chances to be a star. This is important to know if we want to understand why Meghan might have changed her age. Before she was famous, she worked very hard to get small roles. She was trying to build a career in a very tough place. One of her jobs was on a show called Deal or No Deal. She was one of the models who held a briefcase. She has said that it was just a job and not very glamorous. In 2006, she was still doing that work. If she was born in 1981, she was 25 at the time. That makes sense for a young actress trying to make it. But if she was actually in her early 30s, the story feels different. It wouldn't be a young woman starting out. It would be someone who had been trying for a long time. People think this might be why she changed the dates. In 2011, she finally got a big role in the show Suits. She was very good in it. According to the official story, she was 30 when she got that part. For an actress, 30 is a fine age to become famous. But the people who don't believe her look at this differently. They think she might have been in her late 30s instead. If that is true, her big break story is not as simple as it seems. They think the timeline was carefully made to fit a certain image of a young actress who finally succeeded after working hard. There is a man named Trevor Engelson who was her first husband. People rarely talk about him, but he is a very important part of the story. He is a Hollywood producer, so he knows how the industry works. He knows how to build a public image. They were married in 2011 and divorced in 2013. Trevor was born in 1976. If Meghan was born in 1981, He was 5 years older than her. That is a normal age gap. But if the other timeline is true, they would have been almost the same age. Trevor knows the truth, but he stays silent. Trevor is not just some random ex-boyfriend. He is a producer who understands the media. He knows which secrets are important. He has stayed completely quiet about everything. He has never made a comment or a joke about her age. Some people think he is just being a nice guy by staying out of the drama. That is a very mature thing to do. But others think his silence is very strange. He lived with her for years and would know her real age. The fact that he says nothing at all makes people wonder what he is hiding for her. Trevor understands how a single statement can change everything. He knows that staying quiet sends a message too. He chose to be quiet every time the topic of her age came up. He would have known her personal details and private conversations. His place in this story is hard to ignore because of what he does not say. People who follow this story think he represents an unanswered question. He was very close to her during the most important part of the timeline. Yet, he has said absolutely nothing to help clear up the mystery. In May of 2018, almost 2 billion people watched her royal wedding. It was a huge global event. Every news report said she was 36 years old. Most people just accepted that as a fact. But the people who look at the clues could not let it go. If she was not 36 but actually 42 or 43, the whole story of the wedding changes. It was supposed to be a fresh, modern fairy tale. Her age was part of that story. A gap of 6 or 7 years is a big deal. It would mean the image we were shown was not the whole truth. When her first son, Archie, was born, the birth certificate said her name was Meghan Markle. That is her legal name. But a few weeks later, the name on the paper was changed. The official reason was to follow the correct rules for royal titles. That sounds like a normal administrative update. But because people were already suspicious, they started asking questions. They wondered why it had to be changed at all. They wondered if something else was being hidden in the paperwork. It became another detail that people added to their list of mysteries. The person who should know the truth is her father, Thomas Markle. He raised her and should know exactly when she was born. But when people ask him, he gets very vague. He talks about their fight and how he misses his grandkids, but he will not give a straight answer about the dates. People notice that the energy in the room changes when he is asked about her age. He becomes less direct. In a story where every detail is analyzed, his hesitation is a big clue. It makes people think he is avoiding the truth to protect something. Thomas has given many interviews and is not shy about talking to the press. He has even said that his daughter tells lies. He is clearly very hurt and frustrated with her. If he is willing to say she is a liar, why would he not just say her real age? He hasn't directly challenged the 1981 date yet. Some think it's because the date is correct. Others think his hesitation means there is a secret. His silence on this one specific detail is very loud. It is one of the most talked about parts of the whole mystery. After looking at everything, the magazine, the photos, the ex-husband, and the father, the official birth year is still 1981. Nothing has officially changed it yet, but this rumor will not go away. It keeps coming back because small things do not line up. It is like a puzzle with missing pieces. Most celebrity rumors disappear after a week, but this one has lasted for years. Every time it comes back, more people start to look at it. They see the same inconsistencies and start to wonder if the public image they see is real or just a story. Meghan has spoken a lot about her life and her struggles. Many people feel like they know her and trust her. But the people who investigate this wonder if her story was carefully made to look a certain way. Is the version of her life we see the real one, or is it a polished version meant to make her more famous? This is not a comfortable question to ask. The 1981 date is still the official record, but the loose threads are still there. As long as people keep pulling on those threads, the mystery of her age will continue to be a big topic.